Welcome to the Blount Topics Podcast. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm so happy you guys are here. Guys, we are now on Apple Podcast, Spotify, YouTube, and now Amazon. Each step this podcast makes is only because of your support. I'm so thrilled you guys have come back for another Blunt conversation, and welcome to any new listeners that are just joining. If you missed last week's episode on the impact of Just Do It, please go check it out. As always, please like, subscribe, review, give the show a follow. I'm so grateful for everything you guys do. I truly am. A couple interesting things are happening today because the day this episode releases, there will be a solar eclipse. I think in my area, we're supposed to be getting between 60 and 80% totality. Hope everyone plans to listen to their Bonnie Tyler's Total Eclipse of the Heart. It's a great tradition to start on the amount of solar eclipses. So today's blunt topic is going to talk about the impact of finding your purpose. If you've ever wondered why you are doing something or why you are where you are, this episode is for you. If you or someone you know is struggling mentally and emotionally, this episode is for you. If you want to see a change in life, this episode is for you. Let's hop into it and discuss the impact of finding purpose. So, what is purpose? This question in itself is very interesting. It's interesting because of how personal it really is. It's very unique. Overall, the purpose is the why of our lives. That one thing that pushes us to do what we want or feel we need to do. My purpose is to impact. I come into contact with at least 100 people a day, at least 5 times a week. This is a combination of students, teachers, parents, family, or friends. My goal is to leave an impact that can reveal something about the people I come into contact with. My intention behind my impact is to leave people better than I found them. There is no one way to hit this purpose. And to quote Jay Shetty, our path to purpose isn't linear. This is probably the most true statement when it comes to learning ourselves and putting things into perspective. Your path to purpose is yours. You can't depend on others to find it for you. We have to create a space and be patient with ourselves while we discover ourselves. We will push forward in so many ways, and in some times we might just end up falling back. So the question we have to ask ourselves is, why? Why do we work the way we do? Why do we have the job we have? Why do we not like certain things? Why are we not happy? These are just a few questions that help us determine our purpose. The beauty of finding your purpose is that once it is revealed to you or you have determined it, it will send a chill down your back whenever you think about it. For me, when I hear impact, I feel electric. I feel there's an electric connection between me and that word. And from there, I had to create my mission, which helps me fulfill that purpose. And I use 3 words: create, educate, and perspective. This is what outlines my mission to discover my purpose. So let's get into a little backstory here. How did I find my purpose? I found my purpose, honestly, living in a small bedroom in my parents' house in my early mid-20s. Life has an interesting way of forcing you through hard times to get you to a state of mind that prepares you for harder challenges and living through things you don't expect will happen. When I was 23, I was working as a home health worker. Before that, I was working at Walmart. COVID-19 had just shut the entire world down. Went in one day, waiting tables and as a bartender, and came out, did not have a job. But I was also heavily involved in politics. And I was living on my own with my own limited means, nothing but me, my job, and my lovable pets. While this living was sustainable, I felt there was more I wanted to do. During this time, I contracted COVID, and it wasn't like a small case, like it was bad. From concerns of my lungs starting to collapse, to the lack of oxygen my blood was getting, I was going hypoxic, to my blood clotting throughout my body, and eventually a brief stint with death and coming back to life. I came out of the hospital with what essentially was a revelation. I had become determined to reset my life the same way my body reset itself after COVID. I was renewed to make a difference. And it's crazy because this has been something I have heard since I was a child from everywhere. Churches me and my family went to, schools I attended, professors I had in college, teachers I had in school, some of my friends, my colleagues. They always said this, that you're going to make a change. You have the ability to make a change. But I never understood what it meant. And so when I came out of the hospital, I couldn't live on my own anymore because I was still in oxygen tanks. I could barely breathe on my own, let alone get up and change the world. This was 2021. Within the next 12 to 15 months, I bounced between my parents' house, or my parents' houses actually, overly frustrated at myself, and had several issues going on at home and with myself. One day, I was talking to my friend Keith. Y'all heard me mention him in the last podcast. Because we had just met at Johns Hopkins in the summer of 2022. And we've continued to be good friends to this day. I mean, we still have super long conversations when we get on the phone with each other. I asked him, like, what are some books you suggest for me to read? And boy, did he suggest a few books for me to read. So I found the books and I began eating through them. I think I easily read more than 10 to 15 books in the past year, just by looking for answers to this: what is my purpose? Who am I? What am I doing here? Why am I here? But there was one book that did it. And along with surfing through books, I surfed through a couple of podcasts as well. And so this one book, coupled with my favorite podcast, I started discovering me and learning who I was. The book is called Built to Serve by Evan Carmichael, and the podcast is On Purpose by Jay Shetty. By the end of 2023, I moved back into my place, got back preparing this podcast, and then boom, it hit me. Why I did what I did. Why I took up these roles in teaching and coaching. Impact. That's what I was seeking. My life was revolving around my impact. This was my purpose. And my purpose had just become clear. I wanted to leave a huge impact on everyone and as many people as possible. And determining my mission into those 3 words as a way of fulfilling my purpose. That's why if you come across me, you see I might have little reminders. And it reminds me of my purpose and my mission. And my purpose is summed up in a quick statement: impact, create, educate, and perspective. And so, how does purpose end up affecting our lives? Well, once you discover your purpose, it is life-changing. This is because the meaning of why you are here begins to shine, and it begins to guide your life. Like, literally, life takes on a whole new light and literally a whole new meaning. When you look and find yourself, I can't stress it enough that this isn't a task that is achieved at a certain point and then boom, it goes away like it's a momentary fix. It becomes a central point and a major piece of who you are. It makes you put things into new perspectives, and you actively try to start fulfilling that piece of life. Once that piece is done and you determine your mission, that's the direction which you are more likely to go. I can't tell you the renewed joy and outlook you have once you know your direction and things start lining up for you. This podcast finally came into existence because of me chasing this purpose. Purpose adds a whole new meaning to your life, and when actively trying to embody it, you can create a reality that brings you more happiness. But all of this comes at a price of being honest with ourselves and going through the hard times and doing the work that's required to get here. So, how can we find our purpose? Well, it's important to remember from earlier, our path to purpose is not linear. This means that there are so many ways we discover our path that it is truly unique. It doesn't happen all of a sudden, or you magically wake up for it or wake up to it. It takes time and takes work. One of the hardest things we can do is be alone with ourselves. Being alone with yourself and thinking about the why behind things we do can be one of the scariest and most revealing things we ever face, because we have to come face to face with a reality. We have to know who we are, what is driving us, the pains we have experienced, the truths we have hidden, the things we haven't held ourselves accountable for, times our boundaries have been violated, and times we have violated others' boundaries. It can be so difficult for us to be alone with our thoughts because of the unresolved pain, trauma, and issues. Research from the University of Virginia has shown that 67% of men and 25% of women would rather deliver themselves an electric shock than to be alone with their thoughts for 15 minutes. Think about that. That is wild. 67% of men and 25% of women would rather willingly shock themselves than to be one with themselves for 15 minutes to face those thoughts. It's wild to think that we'd rather deliver ourselves an electric pain than to face what's in our heads. I believe this task is probably one of the hardest things we can do. I can't emphasize that enough. It's not easy work, but if you do it, I can 1,000% guarantee you the outcome is so good and beneficial and worth it. You'll find yourself facing things better, handling situations more mindfully. You will love you. Ooh, that's such a strong phrase. You will love you, and you will love you unconditionally. And that will emit through all aspects of your life. Now, everyone's going to hit me with well, can there be barriers? Can there be barriers? Yeah, of course. Nothing great ever comes easy. Well, Nick, I don't have time to do this and sit back and think. I don't have time to do the research. I'm too busy. Well, it doesn't have to be a 3-hour research every day. Take 5 minutes a day. This can be before you fall asleep or when you first wake up, when you're driving down the road to work, to school, or to the store. Take 5 minutes and think about why you are doing this task and how it relates to your purpose. If the tasks aren't related to your purpose, then ask yourself, why am I doing this? If money is one of those issues and one of those barriers, get on YouTube. Find a podcast. Search up a free audiobook or a free book and learn and research for free. If you stop worrying about money and pursue something that is aligned with your purpose and missions, the money will find and follow you. I have read among the many books that I have looked at and the thousands of podcasts I've tried to listen to, money should never be the most important thing you care about. The top 5, should it be in the top 5? Maybe. Yeah, it should be in the top 5. But it should never be the top of the 5. You can find your purpose and create a reality that makes you smile every day, and you will feel the true power of your existence. So, is our purpose ever fully fulfilled? Well, it depends if you are talking about in a job or space occupied sense. Yeah, if you're talking about in your overall life, my honest answer is probably going to be like never. While we are working on our purpose every day, we must create things that can continue to live out our purpose even after we are gone. This can be through your children, your colleagues and family, your students and people you come into contact with on a regular or as a passerby. Everything that you come into contact with is helping to shape you to be the best version of you so you can be a living example of your purpose. You will live your entire life defining your purpose, and with each new interaction, your purpose becomes more defined. And the more it becomes defined, you will feel your purpose glow each time you meet someone. Each time you meet someone, this purpose will shine through when you are speaking. You'll find yourself listening more intently. You're actively being there for people. So, can you truly fulfill this? Well, let's talk about what fulfillment really means. Fulfillment means you are completing something. In terms of purpose, you will never truly be completely finished. This doesn't mean you couldn't complete your purpose in a certain area. So don't conflate the two. You have the purpose of why you're doing one thing and the purpose that you're constantly striving to work towards. And that's why we tend to do things like we change jobs. If we feel we have fulfilled our purpose in one area and we've given it our all, there's nothing left we can give, we move on to continue our everlasting purpose. Living every day through our missions to achieve our purpose. So, what is the true impact of finding purpose? What is this impact of finding purpose? The impact of purpose is to create a life you are destined for and creating it in your ideal fashion. Everyone's purpose is different, and you'll meet several people along the way where your paths may intersect, and they can intersect multiple times. Like multiple times. Some people may come into your life for a short time and might be in and out. Others, they will keep recurring for years and years. And it's through this that your purpose is on the path to being fulfilled, but you're still working and making that impact. There's a short story, and I highly suggest everyone reads it. It's called A Message to Garcia by Elbert Hubbard. It talks of a messenger named Rowan, and Rowan is told to deliver a message to Garcia, but he's given no instructions on how to get to him, where he is, anything like that. So for a little bit of backstory, the U.S. military uses this story as a way of telling soldiers, you may not have instructions through your battle, but you need to complete the mission and figure it out on the way and complete it to the best of your ability. The major point of this message and the major point of Hubbard's story is that the best thing anyone can do is to do what has been assigned to them, to do their job. Well, in my interpretation of finding purpose, the message is your purpose. This is because your purpose is what needs to be delivered. Your purpose is the message. The journey of delivering that message is your mission. There's no one way to complete the delivery of this message. There's no telling how long it will take you to deliver this message. In A Message to Garcia, it took Rowan, I think, 3 weeks. For you, it could take 3 months. For us, it could take 3 years. You will have to find your way to do it. Garcia represents the people that are being influenced by your purpose. These are the people you will affect. And you will not create the same effect with every person. And that's okay. That's fine. Even with this podcast, I will not reach everyone with this podcast. I would love to, but I can't. My goal is to reach maybe 2 billion people. Let's see if we can make that happen. But if I don't, that's perfectly fine. But my goal is to get as many people as I can that's possible. The ones that are taking things and coming back and keep learning are people who are receiving the messages from this podcast, the episodes, just any content I put out. And there could be several reasons why some people aren't listening or they don't continue. And it could be that this episode isn't for them, but there may be other episodes that will be for them. My show might not be the one for them, so they can go find somewhere else. I want them to be the best that they can be. I will convey my purpose in multiple ways. Through person-to-person conversation, teaching, coaching, and meeting new people. As long as an impact has been made for the better, I am content. And so, with that, I hope you've enjoyed this conversation on the impact of finding purpose. If something has reached you, or if you believe this conversation will help someone else, please share this episode and continue to support. If you're interested in some book suggestions or coaching, please feel free to reach out to me and let's talk. If there's anything you want to hear discussed on the podcast, please email me or comment on the episodes in the comment sections. Email me at blunttopicspodcasts@gmail.com. If you enjoyed this episode, then you will enjoy my previous conversation on having a just do it mentality. Remember to subscribe, give this show a follow, and share it. Share it with somebody. Also remember, when finding your purpose, it is for you. And I cannot wait to see what you guys will do. Come back next week for a new episode. And with that being said, stay blunt, stay impactful.